Welcome to the Ivy League of Extraordinary Gentlemen podcast.
The Ivy League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. The League of Ivy Extraordinary Gentlemen. You're listening to what we say. We said we had to say. The Ivy League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. The League of Ivy Extraordinary Gentlemen. You're listening to what we say. We said we had to say.
All right, maybe now it's working. Maybe, but also maybe not. Who cares? Let's just do it. Yeah, Sky, Austin and I were just saying how it's kind of funny now. Sunday. Don't even want to go. Don't want to go to the bar. Don't even want to go to the fucking Seahawks game. I just want to sit on my couch and text you guys all day. Literally 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
It's way more.
Yeah.
It's way more.
I just never saw that as being where I was headed with my fantasy football future, but it's exactly where we're at.
I mean, to be fair, this is probably the most yes, Dave's team points for and looks the most lethal, but I'm looking at some stats right now. It's we have 4 people 5-2. It's just tight. It's the tightest I think it's ever been.
I would disagree with that. I thought it was I thought there was more. There's actually more of a spread this year than there ever has been. Usually, I feel it's very unclear who 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is. Who's gonna make playoffs? That's every year.
I don't know. You look at But look at right now, yes, last week, but there's so many upsets this week that if you look at 9th place is Gideon.
Yeah.
He has a 41% chance of making playoffs. He's 3-4. Then you go top up. Say Dave does somehow lose this week. He goes to 5-3. And even if those other 5-2 teams win, it doesn't really matter because I don't know. I think the opposite. I think it's very close.
All the 5-2 teams, there's 4 5-2 teams. So that's most likely, unless catastrophe happens for those teams, which is plausible. But that's 4 of 6 playoff teams. And then the last 2 spots is there's 4 or 5 teams. What I'm saying is the bottom 3 teams, we don't usually have that much separation. 1-6 and 2-5 is usually not the case.
Yeah, maybe, but your example is a little off. You and Scotty play this week, so one of you will be 5-3 after this week. You will be 5-3, and once one of you drops into 5-3, all of a sudden, say Max. So your point is kind of correct. Magnus wins against Jeff theoretically. He's 5-3. He is tied with you and Scotty. That's just an example. Same thing. If Cobb can beat Dave, he goes to 5-3, and Cobb goes to 4-4.
It's gonna happen.
Same thing. Flynn. If Flynn is playing Caldwell, if Caldwell wins, he goes to 4-4, and Flynn drops to 5-3. And then the same thing, if Gideon beats me, we're both 4-4. I don't know. I see it the completely opposite. I think it's actually this next week and a half is the most important week and a half that will start to see, because I think you're right. If the top teams win out the next 2 weeks, then it's separation.
All I'm saying is if you look at just this week, yes, after the end of this week, there might be some a lot of variation in the standings. But if you look at it over the course of the rest of the season, there's already 4 teams that in theory only need 1 more win with how many weeks left to get into play.
No, they don't need. They need 2 to 3 more wins.
You can make playoffs with 6 wins if you have the points for.
Not anymore, because it's a week longer than 2 years ago. Even the season, we're now like a 14 game instead of 13 game regular season. Right. So it used to be like you could get in at 6 and 7, but now you sort of got to be 7 and 7. Like you're not going to get in at 6 and 8.
All right. So yeah, it's not necessarily set in stone. I'm just
a
saying
little early to be.
It's crazy that there are 4 teams at the top that already have 5 wins. Like that's.
Yes.
I feel like that usually doesn't happen. Like maybe there's one team that's like 3 wins out sometimes.
Yeah. I guess my more call was that there's no 6-1 or 7-0 team at this point.
Yeah, that
there is a 1-6 team.
Rarely happens in our league that there's.
What about that? The worst team, the Schwer's team, 12th place, only one with 1 win. Still grinding. His roster is still, he can still put up 150 next week. So
and against Dave,
1 win is against the best team. Yeah.
So like. You might say there's not parity this year, but the fact is we still got 12 dudes grinding. There's a lot of parity, I think, still, and it's really early to be making calls. I thought I was in the dumpster 3 weeks ago. Here I am. I'm right in the thick.
Cobb, you're actually 5th in points for.
Yeah, thank you. I've been high up there in points for all year. Thank you very much. Yes, appreciate that.
So like, there's another call out. If I'm looking at the standings from a points for perspective, Flynn is in 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th. Flynn is in 8th in points for. So that's another one for you, Kyle. Like if Flynn, like his points for are not there.
Yeah. I just think like you have 5 wins halfway through the season. It's pretty likely that in the next 7 games you're going to get at least 2 wins. Like unless something happens, like Tariq and Christian McCaffrey go down.
Yeah. I guess that Flynn needs his more points though, because there are teams like a Cobb or a Caldwell who have more points for than him that could slip him at the end.
There's only one team that hasn't gotten 2 wins through 7 weeks.
Yeah, sure.
So like statistically speaking, those 4 teams at the top are going to get to 7 wins.
Ooh, fun fact! I just realized because we've been talking about this, it is midway through the season.
Yeah.
Boom.
So we're halfway through.
I want to hear more about these grievances that Sky wanted to air.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I heard there was a lot of grievances.
So yeah, I can start from the top. I'll actually start from the perspective of I just think like this is absolutely absurd that Kyle texted at whatever time it was, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. So he must have just woken up, sleepy eyes out, maybe had the coffee or whatever. He goes, my trade to Scotty, Giddy, and Matt, all of them their weak matchups. Happy to help, boys. Most notably, Matt won his matchup by 0.8 and Hoyer scored 1.16.
Yeah.
What's the crazy thing is that you don't even see that that's crazy. You're slapping your male genitalias in their faces, even though they won. You're saying, I gave you this. I gave you permission to win. I let you win because you traded with me.
No, that's not what I meant.
What do you mean?
I just meant like they like the trades that we did. They all won because of those trades. That's just a fact. They all would have lost if they didn't do those trades. That's all I was saying.
But maybe not, because as you even stated later, you said Gid would have started PJ and lost. Kirk won it for Scotty Wild. He might not have started PJ. He might have done a different trade. And maybe that helped. The butterfly effect is a little off.
He might have, but he didn't. He did the trade with me in that Tyrod
and then
Taylor
I
trade.
Go to say, also, you realize for every boy you help, you hurt one.
Well, I wasn't saying I helped everyone. I was just saying the trades I did helped those 3 teams. Like I'm not necessarily taking credit for the wins. I'm just saying the trades that I did were good trades for all of those guys. I got flack all fucking week for being a bad person and a snake for doing these trades, and all 3 of those trades turned into wins for those fantasy players. That was my
Kyle does that thing where like he's holding the door for somebody and they walk through and don't acknowledge it, and then he goes, "You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome."
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even asking for a thank you. I'm just stating
You're
I'm
just
just stating
which
that
is kind of an asshole move to just say you're welcome when nobody even said thanks.
Right. But I was
so
just
kind of a little bit of assholery, just a bit. Just a bit.
I'm my purpose is to be an asshole.
Thank you.
But my point is that I did the trade with Matt, like most notably did the trade with Matt, which almost didn't get pushed. I was even willing to reverse and give him all of his players back because it caused like everyone to go ballistic.
It was Lockett and who?
Zach Evans didn't play.
And Zach Evans for Hoyer, who didn't even play. Yeah, Henderson played.
And then I traded away Lockett.
I had no problems with that trade. I actually thought Matt was being a little bitch about it.
Yeah, Matt was being dumb about it because Cobb made the comment.
Yeah, is Hoyer even going to play? That's right.
He was just joking, and then Matt panicked.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Schwer got involved. And that's when it got
trade, you have to
really
stick with
dumb.
your trade. Like, that's just like...
If you send the trade and the other person presses
accept, you did, and
like,
what did I do?
Ask the commissioner to reverse the trade. You said no, but that was after 2 hours of me just getting absolutely
I'm saying that originally Matt texted
everybody
me and said, "Can you give me back? Can you say no to this trade?" I'm like, "No, you accepted the trade." And then 10 seconds later, I hit boom, done, it's through. So he tried to. No, of course I did. I've never had anyone text me after the trade has been accepted. I've never had that. Never have I ever had anyone accept a trade. Actually, well, he sent it too. Have a trade go through, and then during that window of gray, somebody texts me and be like, "Hey, can you deny this trade?" That's a first. So of course I had a hesitation because I'm like, "Oh, is this like really like?" So I guess. And then I said, "No, it's not my job to make sure. Like, it's my job to push it through." But hold on. Say that player is Lamar Jackson, or like say somebody crazy like that is way off, and I'm like, in that moment of gray, I'm like, well, maybe this is wrong. What do I do in the future?
Yeah, like if it's
like a fat thumb scenario
where like you accidentally clicked fucking Lamar Jackson. No, if he I don't know. That's I advocate for us to remove the commissioner.
I think for literally this instant,
trade to trade.
You
Why
just
are you
said
even...
that? Yes, it's a safety gate. It's a safety gate.
But I think that's the purpose. That's the purpose, to make sure that like Lamar Jackson doesn't get traded for Zach Evans. But like you just said, what do I do? And I would say like that's the purpose. So
you know what's funny is originally,
but at the same time, like you sent the trade and it got accepted.
Because I used to destroy Hunter. I used to get all of Hunter's players. This was like 10 years ago.
Like so unlegitimately.
You mean Voldemort? You're not allowed to say his name on this podcast.
Legitimate trade rate before the internet was like everything's immediately available.
I think
like
kind of,
so
yeah.
You could, like,
but
trade
going back to the actual like gating thing, I think it is a good call out. I think we should vote on it at the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I got some thoughts for you, Kyle. How about this? So the fact that we're not a money league, I think makes the trade like, I don't know. I think I'm not concerned about any collusion happening in our league. Why would you send your good players to somebody else to help them if we literally can't benefit monetarily?
True.
Right? So like that's why you would collude with somebody in a traditional fantasy league, is so then you can split the winnings. And that's why you have a commissioner, right? So like our league's sort of in a unique place where like every trade really should go through. And I think that's why Sky does a great job of it, just sending it through, let us all rabble about whatever, but it ultimately doesn't matter because it just matters. The one individual who sent it, the other individual accepted it, boom, through everyone else.
I mean,
without the money. So I think the fact that it's not money is like sort of big for us, actually, to just enjoy it.
The problem is that accidents happen. Like, by that logic, and we talked about this because of the whole Schwer debacle, but like, accidents happen. Gideon drops Jamal Williams, who last year was like the number 10 running back to waivers.
But the Gideon short thing, in my opinion, we gave him back. I think they're completely insane.
What do you do in these situations? Well, I think the point that I benefited in that scenario with the Jamal Williams thing, like nobody else in the league was impacted by Schwer's fuck ups, like except for Gideon, who was playing him. But like Schwer did that to himself, and it didn't really have an outcome that like made somebody else's team vastly better. So like I get that argument, but at the same time, like I don't know if there's gray area here. Like if we're saying that like Matt potentially screwed up and traded a player who like got sat, and from like the time that he sent the trade to the time that it was accepted, if that player got sat in those 10 minutes, like
it's just that he hadn't checked out the news. He hadn't read all the news, which is fine. It worked out, but
yeah,
Matt just saw the ESPN fantasy projection, I bet, of Hoyer for 14 and said, "Oh yeah, he's starting." No, Matt, do your research, buddy. Do your research.
I was like, I mean, I can never tell.
Right. He started.
I'm just taking heat for the sake of taking heat in the league, or if like people are actually mad. And like for that trade, I was like, yeah, it really sucks. He got absolutely boned. It worked out in his favor. He won because of it. Zach Evans didn't even play.
Tyler Lockett scored 3 points, right?
And
Jigba went off.
There's an argument that like I got boned on that trade.
How did you get boned on this trade? Let's back.
Right.
Let's push this one back. Hold on.
Enough for Matt to win.
Because I traded a.
Who'd you trade Lockett for? Who'd you get for Tyler Lockett?
Well, trading a backup quarterback. There's no way.
by the
it's not downstream. You had already pre-planned. You didn't want Tyler Lockett as an asset. You knew you were going to put the asset along. So no, fuck that. You never took. Yeah, like Deontay Foreman. It could have been a Deontay Foreman thing.
Also, Zach Evans could easily score 17 fantasy points this week. So watch your mouth.
True.
Exactly.
Right.
You know who's not going to score 17 fantasy points this week? Brian Hoyer.
I'm just saying that, like, at that point in time, everybody was freaking out because I got who everyone thought was going to be the Rams starting running back and Tyler Lockett for who everyone thought was a quarterback for the Raiders that was going to get benched. What actually happened is that Raiders quarterback started.
He was not
the running back I got benched, and the receiver that I got in exchange in that trade as well scored 5 fantasy points. I put him in another deal and traded him off.
Shipped him off.
Right. And then I traded Tyrod Taylor for Roschon Johnson and traded him to get those. I traded Tyrod Taylor for Roschon Johnson, got Roschon Johnson, packaged him with Tyler Lockett, and traded him to Scotty for Trevor Lawrence. And
did you like that trade after? Like, do you like that you did that trade?
Cousins and DJ Moore.
Looking back at it, the last one.
Was that a good trade?
You were slinging. You were slinging.
I think it balances my team more in the long run. This week,
I'm just looking at Scotty's team,
but I think
originally I
balanced my team. Roschon and Tyler gave me a little more thickness. My team is very lacking in bench players.
Kirk Cousins is projected for 19. He had a good week. Tyler 9.2, Roschon 9.1. Like, I feel like you actually giving him a lot of value. Weirdly, yeah. I know.
But
all of a sudden,
but remember the situation that DJ Moore and Kirk Cousins were in literally yesterday afternoon. Sunday morning, DJ Moore didn't have a quarterback anymore, and Kirk Cousins. Everybody thought Kirk Cousins was literally the worst. Like, I was just hedging. I was like hedging those players away. There was upside for Scotty that paid off for him. I was hedging away from them and getting more consistent players like Raheem Mozart. And I like it. I think like long term, it's probably a better trade. I'm going to average more points. If you take away Roshan and Tyler Lockett, I think like the combination of Trevor and Raheem will score more.
Your bench is
Kirk and
one
DJ.
ply.
You could probably do those numbers now. Actually, it probably would work.
Going from bottom to top, ready for this? Empty bench spot. Yeah, Mike White. This is Kyle's thought process. Antonio Gibson, CJ Beathard.
Well, I just dropped Zach Evans.
Royce Freeman and Gabe Davis. Basically, like Gabe Davis is the only like actual usable player on your bench, which is crazy. And then in your IR, you picked up Nick Chubb and Aaron Rodgers, like a dirty trash boy. I guess, yeah. Use what you got.
Why not? I have the IR spots. Like, so I've been hedging all year, like the play, and I feel like more people adopted this year, which was like instead of giving up a draft pick for a third string quarterback, you opt to take a different player, like a wide receiver 3 or a running back 2 or something. Or a handcuff on one of those players or whatever. But like, I feel like quarterbacks are really thin. What ends up happening now these days is like 2 or 3 teams end up stacking quarterbacks, like Cobb and Caldwell for a time. I don't know who has it anymore. I feel like quarterbacks, third string quarterbacks are just getting thrown around like salami. But like those guys had 8 of the 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. So like, which is also a strategy, right? Like then you have a lot of trade value, and that has worked out for Cobb, for example. Like he's done a lot of trading with those quarterbacks. But my thing is like, well, there's going to be a certain percentage of quarterbacks that are going to get injured. So if I can speculate on who is either going to get benched or injured, maybe I can pick up a third string quarterback for free. That's why I have Mike White and CJ. I handcuffed. That's how I got Trevor, was because I took CJ off the waiver last week. It was why I was so hasty on the Brian Hoyer trade, because I wanted to get rid of Brian Hoyer off my team so I could free up a 4th quarterback spot. No, to get CJ. And then I took Mike White because I was like, well, he's the best available option that if Tua went down, the team that would suffer the most is my biggest competition. So I need to handcuff.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it. I'm just going to play this out, though, for you, okay? Because
a lot of speculation.
I feel like this episode is mostly
I like that, actually.
Dave has the number
I really
one
like that.
Dave has the number 1 waiver spot. Tua goes down, he's got the number 1 waiver spot. He gets Mike White, and he's fine.
Let's work through this, okay? So you have Scotty this week, okay? Probably, if not your hardest match in a little bit here.
You guys are coming after me.
It is his podcast? I don't know.
So you have College Scotty this week. Yeah. Your team looks healthy. It looks prime. 148 projection. His is a high projection as well.
Sure, I played Dave last week.
The thing is, and this is where I'm going to slap my hand on my desk. If you lose this week, you go to 5-3, and then Trevor Lawrence goes on bye. Week 9, where you play sure. But then this is the big one. This is what I've been smacking my feet on the ground and saying that week 10, you play me. And you ready for this, Cobb?
Yeah.
Kyle has Patrick Mahomes on bye. Raheem Mostert on bye. Well, Chiefs. 5-5 if you could get that. Yeah, you could be 5-5 by it.
Okay. So I lose the next 3. Listen. I lose the next 3 weeks. I'm 5-5. Let's play it out. I lose the next 3 weeks.
Correct.
I'm 5-5. I'm through most of my buys.
How's your emotional state at this point? Come on, you got to be crumbling a little bit at 5-5. There's cracks in the foundation.
There's 4 games left in the season at that point. We played 10. We have 4 left. I need 2 to get into playoffs.
You are scoring high, so we'll just shoe you in as a high scorer because you're over 100 ahead of everyone.
I need to win 2 of those games to get in the playoffs. I'm basically saying I'm fucked. I'm not going to get a bye week, but I am confident that my team is good enough to make it to the first round.
Back then. Like
that is how
all you need. That's all you need.
And also, Skyler, I smushed Caldwell without a quarterback. My team has a lot of upside. I can win without a second quarterback.
He's a fraud. Mostert's a fraud.
Hey, Sky, you want to know what I'm pretty excited for? Is week 10,
he's a fraud.
I think, or maybe week 11 when
it's crazy, but he's a fraud.
Excuse me, and that Mostert top fantasy running back in fantasy guy now gets replaced.
That's what
supplanted.
That's what I'm
and then all of a sudden Kyle goes to 5-6, and then that's when he really starts getting nervous. His hands are sweating. Mostert only got 5 touches because he's just been slowing down as the season went on. Man.
I'll remind you, even when Achane was in the mix, it was Christian McCaffrey 1, Raheem 2, Achane 3.
Raheem got 2 games of no Achane also. Just saying, 2. First 2 games.
But his big games were with Achane.
Yeah, he did have some big games where both of them went huge. It was crazy. But I'm saying that's not going to happen at the end of the season. At the end of the season, it's going to be Achane going huge, and Mostert is going to be plotting.
All right, so Kyle, I actually don't mind your thought process there. I think if you win this week, you're going to feel really good.
He doesn't have to score 30.
Is out of the next 3 weeks.
John, who gets tummy aches apparently, and Brees. So those are my 2 horses. I got a lot of.
I'm looking at historical data right now to slap facts. All right, so you ready for this next fact I'm going to throw at you? Basically, since 2000 and I went all the way.
You didn't say what Scotty's projection is. What does the robot think he's going to do?
Yeah, well,
I'll check out
you and Dave. Since 2014, okay, essentially.
Sure.
There's been once, maybe twice. I'm just looking at these numbers.
To score 130.
Once or twice that the number 1 seed has not.
Projected to beat him by 20.
You're projected for 150 growth.
So when you're talking about, because there's a couple reasons why that makes sense. You get the bye, obviously, but then you also get the +2 points in the matchup. So when you're talking about like limping into playoffs and being like, oh, I'm fine, 7 wins, you definitely don't want that. That's only happened once with Jeff during his fluky year 2, which Jeff, I'm calling you out, and I know that you're going to listen to this. And I know you know it's fluky. That's actually Tyler you on it. It's the only time. The what? But you did. Because guess who won it? Caldwell, 11-3. 11.
Well, I almost did it last year too. I almost won it last year. I think I was number 1 seed. Yeah, but it's not impossible. It's just less likely. But I think the strategy is different. My strategy is build a playoff team, invest in the actual players playing as opposed to investing in players that can back up those players.
But I don't think it's a luck thing.
Hope for no injuries, lose in the bye weeks, get to the playoffs with the best team.
Yeah.
And then
each round
win the championship, as opposed to being the number 1 seed and hoping that is what lucks me into a championship.
That's stupid.
Well, you're saying the best record, you're saying the best record wins because they get a bye week and they get +2 points. I'm saying that's because traditionally people build teams to get the number 1 seed. I'm not building a team to get the number 1 seed. I'm building a team to win football games. I'm a disruptor, okay?
I just love your confidence about the quality of your team. It's just I'm not saying your team's not quality. It is quality, but dude,
I just don't know how you. I don't know how you can argue that it's not.
I'm building this franchise to win.
I have the I have this. I'm number 2, and I have the second highest points for.
I have to
don't know how you can argue that it's
I'm
not a good
really
team.
sure because I haven't looked at Dave's team.
I mean,
Also, I'm going to argue that my team
to be
is
fair,
way
Dave
more
has not
balanced
stressed
than
once
Dave's.
until last night.
Dave's team looks very, very, very
tall
different
tale.
if Christian or Tyreek goes down. My team, one of my players gets hurt, I think I'm okay.
I don't think so, man. I would
Let's look
listen
at
to a
Dave's
lot.
team.
We're halfway through, like.
Dave's going to win the champion. If Christian McCaffrey, this is my thing. If Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill play all season, don't get hurt, Dave is going to win the championship.
These are just such wild takes. There's so much. Who knows what to happen.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is, like, if you look at the rest of his team, Tua's good. He's not the best, but he's good. What's he ranked right now? Number 6. He's good. Jared Goff, last week, bad. Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Gibbs, who knows? Calvin Ridley has been in the shitter. Tyreek Hill. Darren Waller was great this past week, but has been pretty bad the rest of the weeks. And then Dameon Pierce, who's been kind of like a flex nothing.
Well, he has a
so what I'm
team
saying is Dave's team is very reliant on the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa, throwing lots of touchdown passes to Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey running for 100 yards and a touchdown every week.
You ready for this?
If one or both of those things stop happening, I don't think Dave has a football team anymore.
This season. Ready for these stats? At New England, 12 points. At Buffalo, 13 points. At Philly, 10 points. Those are his away. Buffalo defense isn't that good. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Those are all the best defenses.
I don't know, man. Like, they are running, like, they are hot weather run and gun. Like,
we were good. We were good when Miami came to town. We still had Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White at that time.
Yeah,
we were good. We are no longer good.
I think it's less of a Tua thing playing in cold weather and more of just like Mike McDaniel's. If defenses figure him out, he just like his offense.
Well, I mean, the Denver game's kind of wild because like Denver's defense actually has been like pretty good.
They are from Miami. They're
it's
definitely
a variable.
warm weather folk down there.
It's a variable. I wouldn't say it's the reason. I would say the probably if you're going to weight those variables, like those defenses just being good is probably why Tua sucked.
You know, I agree. I think overall Dave's team, yeah. I mean, I think every team
offense
couldn't theoretically like
Miami's offense off the fucking field. So like, if your defense, even if it's good, is playing,
the thing is, his top 2 players are literally the number 1 wide receiver and the number 1 running back. So
it was nuts. I mean, that's just that's unprecedented. Like, that's not going to happen probably in our lifetimes again. Sure.
Right.
Yeah, and they're so far separated from everybody else where it's like, you look, if you imagine his team without those 2 names, I just think it's a different football team. Whereas I think you go down the list on my team, and obviously there's caveats. I don't have a quarterback. That's a problem. When my quarterback gets hurt, I'm fucked. Like,
he's the third.
I don't even have a backup wide receiver. Well, I do. I don't have like, you can do this to everybody's team, but what I'm saying is, like, there's not really one person on my team that I'm going to be distraught if they get hurt. Whereas if I was Dave's team, well, Patrick was great last week.
Since you've acquired from me, you went 19.3, which I think is like fine.
How do you love Bijan so much, but then judge Patrick week to week?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, Patrick Mahomes in the last 4 years has been far beyond the number 1 fantasy quarterback. This year, he's number 3 because he had a big week last week. All the rest of the weeks, he was good. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Good. Yeah, that's why he's number 3 is because of this week. The rest of the weeks. So if if he keeps doing what he's doing last week, then my team is it's
all right.
what
So if he keeps doing what he was doing last week and like the 5 years up until this September, we should be in shape. But if he reverts back to September.
No. My big thing,
I think he's good.
Patrick.
He's not.
Travis Kelce was hurt. And somehow he's magically healed and is the best tight end again, like magically.
Sure.
And then the second one is that his rookie wide receiver, specifically Rashee Rice, or a different one depending on who came up, they look good now somehow.
I'm not saying I'm not nervous at my players.
Yeah.
What I am. Yeah, because Patrick Mahomes is good.
Because it's Patrick Mahomes, and he was never.
Patrick Mahomes is a very, very good football player. I am not denying that. He's probably the greatest quarterback talent of all time. What I'm saying is that I look at my team. The reason I like my team is because it has balance. I don't think that I am required to have Bijan can goose egg like he did last week. Still win a football game.
Right.
Team can goose egg. I'm still okay. There's guys who have lots of upside. There's guys who are consistent. I don't think there's one player on my team that I need to win. Whereas Dave happens to have two of those guys on his team. Usually teams get lucky enough to have one of those guys on their team. Dave has two of them. I'm saying if one of them gets hurt, so he's still a good team. Not as good. If both of them get hurt, not crazy, because one of them is a high twitch wide receiver who could pull a hamstring at any second, and the other one's a running back. So he's depending on those two guys who have a high probability of injury. If you look at football and the way it's played, that's all I'm saying. That's my point. No,
it does sort of sound like that though. Every time I hear him talk,
I will say,
he keeps saying he's not saying
excruciating loss.
Well, I'm just you guys are asking me what my strategy is.
I've actually
thinking about it. I'm giving you the information of how I'm managing my team this year.
I've had some very close wins, some very close losses this year. I mean, that was crazy.
That's best in fantasy lately. Because he just had to be fair, a pretty tough loss, actually. So, let's hear your thoughts here while we're here.
To be fair, though, I'm not even going to regard that question.
Maybe you shouldn't have pushed that Brian Hoyer trade.
Actually, I will. I'm trying to make playoffs. And then I hope I'm an outlier. And I'm one of the 10% that somehow squeezes way to semi, squeezes way to final, and just wins.
I am an win a championship, or are you just trying to make playoffs?
To be the one seed, but it could. You never know. It could. Right now, I look at it, it's not. There's so many question marks across the board. Justin Herbert. Two. Since you've traded to me. How you would call it, 18.5 and then 10.8. Patrick has never put up a 10.8 game. When I need him the most, Durs. When I need him the goddamn most. So then we go to Dak Prescott. Yeah, and I lost that week.
I don't think he's a question mark.
Dak Prescott, I actually feel weirdly great about him right now. He's like the highest point he could be. Travis Etienne is an absolute baller. Rashard White, I feel fine with. I feel like he looked good. He looks good. When you watch him play, you're like, oh, he's a legit running back. His stats are awful, though. He usually has 15 touches as a running back and gets 35 yards, but then he contributes to 40 to 50 yards in the air, and he ends up with 10-ish points. He's averaging 9.7 points this year.
To hear that.
There we go. Devontae Adams, huge question mark. I would sell him at a low point right now for everyone listening. I would sell him at a low point, but I do think there is probably hope, but who knows? There also could not be. I feel like his targets are just really wonky. Jerry Jeudy, I think I'm just going to grind him out. I think I'm just going to keep going with him. I think he's either going to be my north or south star. I'm going to ride him. Like CJ Osborne or KJ Osborne, Jackson on the bench. Like I think I just go with Jerry. I think I just keep rocking him. Dalton Schultz, I love. Picked him up 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's been phenomenal. He had a bye last week, which kind of sucked. It kind of effed me over. Joe Mixon, though, that at the flex. I mean, so top down, I don't hate my team. I don't hate him because like Joe Mixon on a flex is pretty nice, to be fair. And then I've been a defensive wizard. My defensive wizardry has got me 2-4-3, or else I'd be probably 2-5 or 3-4. How do you like that, Durs? How do you like that as a synopsis of my team? It's crazy. All right, I have a meeting I have to jump to now, but I'm going to go through my defense. Ready? Dalboy Callis. I'm just going to go through the weeks. Week 1, 31 points. Week 2, 14 points. Week 3, I definitely didn't hit that one. 1 point. Sorry. That was my.
I would.
Week 4, 19 points. Week 5, 0 points. So actually, I haven't been that good.
Keep it to yourself.
Week 6, back with the Vikings, 19 points. That was crazy. And this last week was crazy.
I give up all my fucking secrets.
Ooh. So you're 5 of 7 over 13 points. That's pretty good. Yeah.
See ya.
I just don't have the same energy with, I can't bring the energy that guy brings.
It's okay.
I just can't.